Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sam Winkler. I work with David Evans and Associates, and I'm on the public engagement team with Salt Lake City on the Highland Drive construction project. This is the presentation we gave last night to those in attendance at the Forestdale Golf Course. And if you have questions at any time, please make sure to reach out to us through the hotline, and we'll get you that information at the end. What we're going to go over is just a quick overview of the project, the schedule, the phasing, some impact that you might have, and then how to get a hold of us. Just to cover the project, you can see it starts at Warnock Drive on the south end, and it will continue to Logan Avenue, which is just past 1700 South on the north end. We're going to be breaking this up into two construction seasons, this 2023 season and 2024 season. For 2023, we will be concentrating on 2100 South to Warnock Avenue on the south side. And it's going to have some impacts to some of the businesses there and residents, but this is how we're going to tell you that we can get this taken care of and make sure that you have access and clearly understand the project coming up ahead. And then from 2100 South north will be in 2024. The vision behind this is to replace the aging infrastructure, to provide safe, inviting, sustainable, and comfortable travel choices for everybody. The road is deteriorating. The Sugar House Shopping District is a popular destination, not just for the people in the Salt Lake City area, but for the whole county. And we want to make sure that it's inviting for them, that it's inviting for bicyclists and pedestrians and everybody that's using the facilities out there, and that the improvements that we make benefit not just the community in Sugar House, but everybody who's visiting there, because again, it is a destination for the whole valley. So I'm going to turn over to Lynn Jacobs, who's with Salt Lake City, and he's going to talk about the actual project itself.
Hi, I'm Lynn Jacobs. I'm the transportation engineer for this project, and I'm excited to share with you what we're doing. We want to just kind of go over quickly what we are going to be building and what it will look like when we're done, and then we'll talk a little bit about how it will be built. So this is one of our typical cross sections at the southern end of the project. So this is between I-80 and 2100 South. And when we're done, we are going to have the road look a lot like this. So imagine you're oriented looking north. So maybe you're standing in front of Whole Foods and you're looking north up towards Sugar House Plaza. And so the west side of the road is on your left-hand side, and the east side is on your right-hand side. On the west side of the road, we're going to build a new multi-use path that will span the entire length of the Sugar House Central Business District. So basically from I-80 up to Ramona. In this area, that path will be between 10 and 14 feet wide, and it'll be a really comfortable area for people to walk and ride their bikes, take scooters, be on wheelchairs. However people need to get around, we'll have enough room to make that a lot more comfortable than it is today. Right next to that, we'll have a really nice wide park strip where we'll be able to replant a lot of the trees that we cut down a few years ago with our canal project. We've just been waiting to get those trees back in for this project so that we didn't have to do it twice. So that'll be coming back in. You'll see a nice new row of trees on that west side. We will then have 3 lanes, 1 lane in each direction with a center turn lane. That is the configuration that we have in this area out there today, and we'll be putting it back basically as is. We do have enough room to fit in a new bike lane on the east side of the road for northbound cyclists. So if you're a northbound cyclist in this area, you'll be able to either be on the bike lane or the shared use path. If you're a southbound cyclist, you'd be in that shared use path. And then on the very east side of the project, we're actually able to widen the park strip a couple feet in order to give us a little bit more room to keep those trees alive. As we go in, all that curb and gutter on that east side is really busted up, and so we have to replace it all. If we were to just go back and put it exactly where it is, we would have to cut back into the tree roots to put our formwork in to replace that curb. Well, rather than do that, we've actually just bumped the curb out so that we have enough room to rebuild that new curb without hopefully impacting those trees. Unfortunately, we do know that some trees may not survive the construction, and we hope to not have that happen, but inevitably that will. And so we're also, by doing this, giving room for when we come back to plant a new tree, they'll have a couple more feet to grow in and be a healthier tree. And so we're really, as one of our project vision and goal statements is we're really trying to make this sustainable for trees. We're also just trying to make it very inviting for people to walk and visit. This is the next cross section between 2100 South and Ramona. In this case, we're actually able to protect trees on both sides of the street. There are a few of the older trees that are they're not doing well now that will come out. And then there are a few trees that we'll have to replace or remove as we're working on this project. But for the most part, we're able to keep most of them. In this area, we're keeping, for the most part, the sidewalks the same width, but we are able to add that new multi-use path on the west side of the road again. So imagine in this area, you're standing in front of the post office looking north, or in front of Soup Kitchen, maybe, and looking north. That new multi-use path will go in the space where we currently have a lot of the on-street parking. So we are removing the on-street parking. Fortunately, in this area, we were able to modify the east side of the road to add some additional parking on the east side. In the end, we end up losing about 3 parking stalls, and it's a really good trade-off for the amount of amenities that we're gaining. Ramona is the boundary for the business district. So between Ramona and Logan to the north of that area, then it will transition back to a more typical roadway section like what you see maybe in an area on Highland Drive further south of here, where we have bike lanes in each direction, some on-street parking and cars. And this will vary a little bit as you go further north. But generally, this is what you're going to see north of Ramona. And this cross section actually extends all the way up to 900 South with a separate project we're building. So we're excited that this, by the time we're done building all these projects, you'll see a good connectivity for people walking and biking all the way from the roundabout at 900 South and 1100 East down to Mill Creek. It'll be a couple different projects that do that, but it's part of a bigger program, and this is one critical element of making that happen. Okay.
And then joining us also is Brandon from Silver Spur. He's just going to give us a quick rundown of the project schedule and phasing. And again, we don't have enough time to really go into a lot of in-depth on the schedule and phasing. So again, if you have questions, we'll have the email for the project and the phone number, and you can give us a call and we can answer those questions for you. So I'll turn over to Brandon from Silver Spur.
Yeah, thanks guys. Hey, so we're looking to get started on the project here in the month of February. It's going to be later in the month, around the 20th. And we're going to start on the south end of the project, Warnock Avenue. And from Warnock up to Wilmington, we'll have our first, what we're calling our first phase, which has a significant portion of our water line and some storm drain line work in there, as well as surface restoration. So we anticipate that stretch is going to be finished sometime in the middle of the summer. But as we're working on that, starting in March, we're going to start at the 21st South, just south of 21st South intersection, and we're going to work back toward Wilmington with our restoration crews, because there's minimal water lines and storm drain work in that area. And so, well, there's a little bit of storm drain, but no water lines. It's going to move a little bit faster from that standpoint, and we'll be able to get our grading crews going with some of the removals and then restoration. And then later in the summer, in August, we have a 60-day window, and we want to try to do it before weather gets too cold. And part of our contract restrictions require us to be done, with the majority of the work up to 2100. And so in August, our phase plan is going to then be to take our crews and spend those 2 months in the 21st South intersection. That's a major undertaking. 60 days is a pretty tight window. There is potential for night work in that stretch. We don't have a guaranteed date for night work. We're going to try to accommodate as much as we can outside of nights, because we recognize the impacts with night work, bring a different set of challenges to the project. And so, and different impacts to the public and to the businesses around. And so typically residents, that's where we're concerned about night work. So we'll have some more coordination and more information going out as we get closer to those dates on how the night work layout and work is going to be. But that 21st South, we have sewer, water, and storm drain in that intersection, as well as removal and replacement of all the surfaces. So it's going to be a pretty major undertaking through that intersection. And then anything north of 21st South, about 150 feet north of the intersection, is where kind of our phase is going to break. And from that point down to the Ramona and Logan Avenue area. Logan is the end of the project. Ramona is the end of a significant portion of some of the work. But that area is going to go all next year, starting after the, Sugar House holiday season and everything like that. We want to honor and be courteous about everything that's going on in the area during that time. So we'll shut down during that, moratorium period, and then we'll start back up the new year in 2024 over there. So that's kind of the way the phasing is going to break out. Impacts, and it's going to be, we tried to make this as easy on everybody as we could. Initially we talked about northbound only, but now we've decided on a southbound only. So all northbound traffic on Highland Drive 1100 East will be closed from starting at 2700 South. And in our phasing, the first phase from 2700 to Wilmington, and then from Wilmington to 2100. But basically what you can plan for is from 21st South to 27th South from this spring, March, all the way until September, October. You're going to have southbound traffic only on Highland 1100 East. With that, doesn't mean it's always going to stay on the east or on the west side. That's going to have to move a little bit as the work progresses, but we want to be consistent in that flow. And we think that allows for, traffic may actually even seem a little lighter southbound, just because access left and right turns out of that will be, should be, fairly simple with no oncoming traffic. So all your detour routes will be down to 9th and then up to 13th. And that'll push you around. So if you're in the middle of Highland Drive, for example, and you have to get up north of Wilmington, you're going to want to go south to get north. South, bounce around 13th and then come back, or 9th, however that works for you. But we felt like the impact to businesses, specifically toward the south end of the project where there's other projects happening, the southbound lane, or the southbound traffic only was gonna be the best way to help everybody just keep flow and things like that. So that's the direction we're going. But as work extends, we're gonna bounce that north. So, and some of you might ask, but why couldn't you keep multiple lanes open? It's pretty tight in there. So if you look at this kind of visual that we've got, you really don't have, by the time you get pipe in the ground with a 4-foot trench and a truck on one side, equipment on the other, or equipment right down by the time you get all that and still trying to keep people safe on sidewalks, you just don't have a ton of access for, cars. So that's a 10-foot construction lane, which is the minimum that MUWCD requires. We'll try to keep that wide because 10 foot really isn't much through there. We'll try to keep that 10 to 12, but that's kind of the way that breaks out, so you can kind of see what that looks like. But not a lot of room in there for trucks and equipment and everything else. And one thing, if you'll bounce back to that real quick, Sam, what you can see is you're going to have people close to equipment, and we want to make sure safety is a priority. We're going to have, our guys will be in hard hats and safety vests and glasses and, the whole nine. And we just want to make sure that this isn't an area where people are, stopping and hanging out. We understand people want to know what's going on and check things out, but just make sure that you're in a safe area where there's not, equipment swinging around and different things going on. And that if guys, there's going to be some material staged in the roadway and on the side, if there's things like that, just be courteous, be aware of the surroundings and what's going on. That's going to be a huge deal to keep everybody safe through this project. So a couple things you can see. There's two things of note on this slide. Obviously, the anticipated impacts. Vibration, you can't, we're digging into hard material, asphalt, concrete, dirt. There's going to be vibration, noise, obviously, and as we get to night work, that becomes a bigger issue. And we'll try to minimize that as much as we can. Dust, we have requirements we're required to follow by the state. So we'll have water trucks on site. We'll have hydrant meters, so we can get water from hydrants to keep things saturated. So hopefully dust is not a major issue. But we recognize that does happen from time to time. Access interruptions, that means, access to your building or place of residence. We're going to try to accommodate as much as we can. We've had some ideas with the Sugar House Chamber on some business access and some thoughts there that we're going to try to implement to make access to businesses more visually accessible, but as well as the access being something that's easy and something that you can see from the street and from the traffic control pattern. Utility service interruptions. Ideally, there won't be any power, gas, anything like that. We're not disrupting that. Occasionally, some things happen, and there may be, if that comes up, then it's that's not something that was planned for. The only planned service interruptions would be water service, and that's going to be something that we're going to give 48 hours notice on water shutdowns. Typically, we'll plan for the entire day and hopefully try to beat that. Usually we do. We like to dig up all the connections before the day before, plate it, so that all we're doing that day is unhooking and rebolting on the new setup. So typically we can do that in a shorter time frame, but when you get our notices, it'll plan for the entire day. Unless it's an emergency, we should never plan to be out of water overnight or anything like that. Obviously, we're dealing with some old water lines, some old roadway. If things, as we get in there and start moving things around and something breaks, then that's an emergency situation, and we kind of have to treat those a little bit differently. But the other thing that we did with this visual is on the right side with the the graphic, is you can kind of see how many utilities are in the road. All those dots on there represent a different size or a different type of utility that's in the road that we're planning on, that we've got to be aware of as we do our work. So, you'll see us out there with what we call a vac truck, and it's a hydro excavator that we go out and we pothole and find all these utilities to the best that we can with the information we're given. And we find all these utilities beforehand, so we know what we're up against as we get into this road. But yeah, there are major utilities through here: fiber, telecommunications, gas, electricity. Everything you can think of is buried in this road, and stuff you're not gonna. I'm a little bit nervous about the things we're gonna uncover when we get in here, but this is kind of what we're up against, and so we just wanted to visualize that for everybody.
And this is also, you may see them digging in the same hole a couple times, just because there's different things in there that they're working on at different times and at different elevations in the ground. So that's why you might see that. And again, this was just a quick presentation for you all. And we encourage, if you have any questions, go to the highlandslc.org website to learn more. Or if you have any questions, you can email us at the email right here or call the hotline. I'll be the one answering those emails and at the hotline. So if you have any questions at any time, please make sure to reach out to us and follow us on the social media at SLC Moves. A lot of the information on upcoming disruptions, upcoming lane adjustments, whatever, will be put out that way, and we will get it out. And like Brandon said, if there's an anticipated utility outage, there will be notices given to the residents in advance of that, to make sure you have plenty of time to make any kind of preparations you need. And if there's any issues, any access issues as things go along, please reach out to the hotline. Really, the hotline is the one-stop location. And don't try and find someone on the construction site or call someone from the city. You may get bounced around to a different person, or they may have a hard time figuring it out. Call the hotline. We'll know exactly who to reach out to for the issue that's rising. Now, we want to make sure that Sugar House stays vibrant. Sugar House is Sugar House for a reason. People come there. It's a destination, again, for the whole county. So please make sure to support the businesses out there. The chamber, the Sugar House Chamber, has a lot of resources. If you're wondering how you can get to certain businesses, how you can support a certain business, we don't want you to have to dig through the construction materials on the highlandslc.org website. Go to the Sugar House Chamber website, which is sugarhousechamber.org, to learn all that, where you can park, how you can support businesses, and then follow the chamber through the Sugar House Chamber, and also the hashtags are out there. Thanks for spending your time with us learning about the project. Again, if you have any questions, please make sure to reach out to us, and have a good day.